Employees of Walmart, what is the weirdest thing you've ever seen at work? Not an employee, saw a drugged out woman took a shit right on the little girl's toy aisle. Then she turned to some little Asian girl, probably no more than 5 years old, watching her, and yelled at her, "Yap, you wanna eat that up, duncha? Cause your mama ain't putting food on your table no mo." A few years back, I worked at Walmart as an assistant manager. I was working a 12p to 10p shift, and the overnight manager called off sick, so I stayed until 4 AM, so somebody working mornings could come in early and we could have it covered. Anyway, it was February in northern Illinois. The temp outside at 2 AM was about 6 degrees. At about 2:30, I get a call over the walkie-talkie to come up to the pharmacy, and that you've got to see this. I went up to pharmacy and see two younger guys. One was dressed in a lifeguard's outfit complete with a thick coating of sunscreen on his nose. The other one was dressed in a complete walrus costume. I half followed these guys through the store to make sure that they weren't going to do something stupid like pull fire alarms, etc., and caught up with what everybody was doing stocking shelves. I lost contact with them because they weren't bothering anybody and just went about my business. About a half hour later, I made my way up to the front registers and asked the cashier if she had seen the lifeguard and the walrus. She said that not only did she see them, but they made a purchase. The lifeguard found some sunscreen in the clearance aisle, and the walrus got a pack of salmon from the seafood department. They paid with cash and went on their way. Out of high school, I got a job at a local Walmart as a 29, aka cart pusher. Anyways, it was almost closing time, and I ended up helping a customer take out some merchandise. Right behind the customer service desk/exit doors was what appeared to be the top of a chocolate ice cream, swirl and all on the ground. I assumed it fell off someone's ice cream cone from McDonald's. I holler that I'll be right back to clean it up. I get back inside and noticed this ice cream has not melted one bit. Curiosity got the best of me, so I decided to lean down and get a whiff of it just to confirm it was ice cream. It was not ice cream. Someone somehow managed to drop a turd right in plain view with an ice cream swirl shape. That was 10 years ago, and it still blows my mind to this day. Ex-employee of the produce department. Someone returned a mango to the store saying they didn't need it anymore. Was returned cut up into 3 different slices and stitched back up with scotch tape. What? Former Walmart employee, hope that counts. Not nearly as weird as some of these, but I watched a disgruntled employee spear 5 to 6 large TVs with a forklift-like picker used to pull pallets off the top shelves in the back. He said he was sick of the job and had done everything he could think of to get fired, but wasn't having any luck. It was near Christmas, and they apparently needed people so badly he didn't get fired over this either. After coming back from a talk with the manager, he finished his shift, now banned from using anything bigger than a pallet jack, and when his shift was over, he said, "Duck it, I'm not coming back. If that didn't get me fired, I don't know what will." I didn't see it, but there was a woman in a local Walmart that couldn't afford to buy the ingredients, so she began making meth right in the store. A bunch. A guy shopping with long hair, dressed in a brown terry bathrobe, bunny slippers, the real thing. How do you even find these? Straw gardening hat, and sunglasses. Another employee was assisting him with shopping and reaching objects on shelves. People using the fitting rooms as a bathroom, or leaving feminine products inside. Yup. A woman went to try on a bra, but bled all over it from an open wound on her side, and we had to biohazard that shit. A girl puked on me. I got to go home early that day. In the grocery section, a pretty big, tall guy was grabbing onto the banana display, the kind that hangs from the ceiling on a 30-foot rope, and shot putting the bananas so far they swung out over the meat section, almost hit the deli sign, then came swinging back and he caught it. He stopped when he saw me watching him. Kids throwing those pop-it fireworks everywhere while running through the store, freaking out the managers as they set some off in the chemicals and cleaners aisle. For one amazing second I thought you meant he was using individual bananas as boomerangs. That would just be impressive. I worked at Walmart for about a year, but was not technically a Walmart employee. I was part of a company that handles the books and music. Anyway, I usually tried to keep to myself and never really talk to anyone. Every now and then, there'd be a stray employee that would browse through the books, killing time, I suppose, while I was stocking. This one guy would come by maybe once a week, chat for maybe 10 minutes, and leave. He was a little weird, but he never really creeped me out or anything. Mostly we just talked about what books we like, or what was coming out soon. One day, I really wish I could remember how this conversation started. He tells me that his ancestors are Cherokee Indians. At this point, I'm thinking, yeah, sure buddy. Where I am from, everyone claims to have Cherokee background. Is this a common thing? Blonde hair, blue eyes, and freckles? Yep, got to be Cherokee, for sure. That's not the point of my story though. This man proceeds to explain to me that the other side of his family are Wood Elves, and that the Wood Elves had close relationships with the Cherokee Indians. He proved this point to me by showing me how pointy his ears were. I could not think of a single thing to say to this guy, so I just kind of smiled and nodded in some sort of agreement. Walmart can be such a weird place. TLDR, Wood Elves work at Walmart. Found a woman passed out naked in sporting goods, about 2 AM while working nights. We had no idea how no one noticed her, because we found articles of her clothing all over the store, including in the back storage area. Called police and ambulance. She was very drugged, and was unable to communicate at all. I worked as a third shift stock boy for Walmart throughout college. One of the most interesting jobs I have ever had. One of my favorite stories was, one night about 3 AM, a bunch of kids came in wearing bandanas and riding adult-sized big wheels about as fast as they could. They made it clear across the store to the soda, and stole about 5 liters and a bunch of chips and snacks. The entire staff just watched this happen too. Seemed par for the course. I have a lot of other stories about the rest of the staff from my group, but this one requires the least amount of backstory. I suspect the weirdest thing they've seen is a normal person. Can confirm. Work at Walmart. Normal is a rarity. Hi, I would like to purchase this one normal product thing and calmly ring up and then leave. Are you okay? I have many stories along these lines from me 4 years at Walmart, but this is probably the best moment. It was Saturday afternoon around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I was sorta just moping around like usual. I was a customer service manager, so anything that involved a crazy customer usually went through me first, and today was no different. A middle-aged lady came up to me and asked if I could page a certain customer, because her elderly father was out in their truck, and was screaming out of the truck door for someone to come find his daughter. Well, I paged and didn't get a response in the usual amount of time, so I went outside to see if I could give the guy some help with anything. I didn't make it past the first set of doors before I saw a commotion, and it took no time at all to figure out what the issue was. The elderly man was attempting to get out of the truck, ass first, and was, what appeared to be, taking off his pants. The lady that came in to ask me to page was apparently not the only person that had been concerned with this elderly gentleman screaming, because there was now, I shit you not, a police vehicle already there with his lights on. And there was an ambulance on its way into the parking lot. Nobody knew exactly what to do, so the emergency responders simply asked if he needed assistance, and if he was safe and unharmed. The man, if he did in fact hear, made no acknowledgement to their presence. He continued to pull his pants completely around his ankles, and shit what can only be described as a chocolate fountain turned upside down out of ass. It was a massive load of doo-doo, and was basically liquid syrup and chunks of undigested items. At this point, an additional ambulance had arrived, and one fire truck. He shit for what seemed like ages, before simply pulling his pants up, no wipe, mind you, and slid back over to his rightful place in the passenger seat. Not a single duck given. The police went over to the window and made sure he was okay, and the paramedics went in and found his daughter, who was completely oblivious to the paging that had been occurring, until she was already checking out. My manager at the time was standing next to me, and turned to me and told me to run and grab the body fluid/blood kit, and some bleach off the shelf, and go take care of that with the janitors. Both the maintenance person on the clock and myself refused outright. We both told her we were paid nowhere near enough to go clean that poo-poo up. She must have known we were serious and simply grabbed the kit and did it herself. I felt bad for her, but I couldn't do it. It was hot outside, and I can only imagine the smell would only make me add to the mess. TLDR, old man squirted doo-doo all over a handicap parking spot. Police and fire department show up, and my manager cleaned it up. This one time while working in electronics, this dude came up to one of my co-workers and said he cut himself on one of the displays and that he needed medical attention. We threw a shitty off-brand band-aid on his cut and sent him on his way. See, Walmart employee. A couple hours later, I noticed something wedged in between two of the displays, and I pulled it out. It was an empty prepaid phone case with a large slit down the side of the plastic mold and a blood stain on the exposed cardboard packaging. Turns out the guy had cut his hand open while trying to steal one of our phones and had the audacity to ask us for help. I'm an overnight manager at a supercenter in a bad part of town. One night we're watching this guy stealing a flashlight from sporting goods on camera. We apprehend him, but after much searching we can't find what he did with the item. So after a while, we have the guy sitting on a bench and he is kind of squirming around. Turns out he put the flashlight up his ass. Hazmat suits were needed. Man, if he needs a flashlight that bad, he can keep it. I work in the deli. I once saw a woman on a motor scooter throw a rotisserie chicken at her husband because he had brought her the wrong item. It slid about 10 feet at the door greet, and I just stared at each other, lost. She drove off, leaving her husband behind. I have never seen a man look so broken down. Also someone huffing those cans of keyboard duster in the bathroom, and someone asleep on the toilet. Pants down and snoring. One time this woman saw some ice cream in one of our ads, and we didn't actually carry it, because we aren't a supercenter. Needless to say, I almost got punched in the face. She couldn't fathom the idea of us not carrying this raspberry ice cream. She was talking like, "What? No, it's in your ad. Why? Where is it? It should be right here." After explaining in fine detail the reason we didn't carry it, she got right in my face and yelled at me at the top of her lungs. Her boyfriend just stood there and watched without emotion. She was most definitely cracked out on something. Also, just today an old woman shit in the freezer aisle and walked away. It smelled really, really bad. One time, I was coming off break and passed two older men. They looked a little odd, but I only caught a glance at one of them at first, which caused me to stop and turn around. Two men in what looked like their mid-50s with tan skin, wearing Bavarian barmaid dresses, complete with shoes and pigtails, were walking through the store shopping. I made eye contact for a moment, and I got the most serious look from one of them. They were acting like it wasn't unusual at all. To this day, I'm still not sure what was going on. There were no events in the area at that time where people would be dressed up. Had a guy scream at the top of his lungs to my coworker because he wasn't allowed to pick up a site to store order. His name wasn't on the package, and he freaked the duck out until a manager had to come and defuse the situation. Another coworker of mine had to check the men's bathrooms for a drunk guy who pissed everywhere in produce, ducking gross, and passed out somewhere in the store. This isn't weird, but it's my biggest ducking pet peeve when parents let their kids lay down in the bottom shelf thing, where you put water/big things. I stay clear of them because the kid's head is sticking out of the bottom, and I'm scared I'm going to kick them or something. Been an employee for roughly over a year, in the electronics department. I was buying shoes at a Walmart, and I heard someone yelling in the next aisle. I peek around the corner, and there's a man holding a pair of rubber rain boots being yelled at by one of the employees. He suddenly drops the boots, and threw his hands up in the air for some reason, and when the boots hit the floor, a bunch of yellow liquid came spilling out of one of them. The guy had been taking a piss in the rubber boots. I went to pay less and got me some shoes after that. I wasn't about to try on any more Walmart shoes. My favorite was the guy who came in and said, "I lost the remote, so I need a new TV." I asked him if the TV was broken. It wasn't, he just lost the remote and didn't want to bother finding it, so he wanted a new TV. I showed him our selection of universal remotes, he responded with, "But then I'd have to program it." The new TV comes with a pre-programmed remote. So I sold the guy a 50-inch TV. I admire this guy's supreme laziness. A code Adam was caught, and the kid was found in the ball display end cap. He crawled in there and was having fun. I do not work at Walmart, but I have worked in retail for nearly 3 years. During the second week at my job we had a power outage. Cash registers went down, lights shut off, and the security systems lost function. I was the first employee to find a torch, so I had to walk the store to make sure nobody was hurt. Apparently, once the power went out, a bunch of people ran out of the store with merchandise. Our security gate had to manually be dropped after getting the customers out. Customers were getting frustrated. We had to put all their items on hold. On top of this, my manager came up to me and told me I had to search the store for a kid because we have a code Adam. I looked for nearly an hour. I tore apart any spot he could hide in or behind. Eventually, my manager found me and told me the parents just left. They didn't have their kid with them. They just straight up left. Hopefully they found him wandering outside our store, but were too embarrassed to tell us. Or maybe they realized that they didn't bring their kid shopping that day. Either way, that was one of the most interesting days at work. To end, once we evacuated the customers, we weren't allowed to leave. Instead we recovered the store using the mere light of the torches.